Yo, what is up, guys? This is Ahsoka. Welcome back to the channel. So today I decided I would actually show some of the cards that I was submitting to PSA, but I didn't want to make the video kind of that boring. I know you see a lot of PSA submission videos, cards all over. So I figured what I would do is talk about the market so far and kind of what I'm seeing and what I'm doing right now, and also just kind of, talk about some of the strategies and plans that I have in place, at least for grading and flipping cards, for buying more for the collection, and hopefully down the road, once I complete the collection, just sell kind of as a, like a passive sort of income as well. So one thing I wanted to talk about was, as you can see here, I auctioned off a few more cards. So you have a Lugia Hyper Rare. I think I paid $200 from that. Went for a lot higher than I thought it was worth. The Shining Legends Mewtwo have dropped though. You can see here it's 450, and then I sold the other copy that I had previously for 550 on here on eBay. So a $100 difference within less than a month. Here, this one was surprising, was Charizard and Braxian Hyper Rare, 585. Sold my other copy for 380. Obviously still a profit, but prices have dropped. This here, obviously we all knew this was going to drop. Darkness Ablaze Charizard, those have been graded heavily, along with the Hyper Rare, the VMAX, and the Shiny Full Art. Those have, the populations are, God, somewhere 800 to 1,000 a piece. So if you're going to be buying those to flip, then I wouldn't anticipate it anytime in the near future, because those prices are definitely going to drop. So obviously what I paid for these was a lot less. And so, anywhere from $100 to $500 profit, probably more for the Lugia. But I've noticed overall that a lot of cards are dropping. And the trend that I'm seeing, obviously the other things that we noticed was that the first edition commons and uncommons were going to be dropping in price, obviously. Eevee and Pikachu were not sustainable at $1,000 a card. It would have been nice to get mine back at that time, but there's plenty of season collectors that, sent off dozens of those to PSA, and there's going to be a lot. So there's going to be a lot graded. Prices are going to settle. I do think they're still going to hold their value as far as, you can grade a Pikachu or an Eevee, and depending on what you paid for it, the prices will still be valuable to send it in. I think a lot of people look at cards like this and think, it has to be a first edition Pikachu to be valuable. And if you watch Z&G's video, some of the older collectors as well, a lot of the way we made our money was selling cards with a small profit. And doubling your money back then was definitely possible, but $5-10 profit here or there, it adds up over time with bulk. So let me show this. This is going to be a regular submission, Japanese. So I'm going to send these off regular, hopefully get them back a little faster and the prices don't dip that much more. And I really like the art here. I guess the reason I never noticed it before is because it's banned with the crosses in the background for the grave. But yeah, these prices, who knows what's going to hold and what's not going to hold. And you'll see a lot of volume get graded. And that's kind of things to think about. Obviously I send these off at $50 a card. I paid on average 20 something, so that's 75. It's around $75 a card. Obviously there's shipping and minus the eBay fees from it, and you get your profit. So if these get a 10, these are what, 350 to 500. I've seen prices go up there. And so say I sell for 275, that, or 300, given 25 will be part of the fees, that's $200 profit. So I have some going for the longer term for the bulk. That'll mean more profit, obviously, but prices could be lower then, and I'm trying to get rid of these now to pay for the cost of that whole submission so that the rest is free. And that's something to determine as well. If you buy a collection, like a lot of the season collectors, they have bulk, and they have a lot of that bulk sitting there, and they've already made their money. So for me, if I pay $2,000 for the Japanese Holos, and if I send these 9 to get graded, and I'm able to sell these for a little over 2,000, that breaks even on the grading cost for these, along with the cost of the collection as well. So the rest of the 50 that got graded, because I had 76 and 25 plus got sold individually. So you add those together with these here, you're looking at $2,500 to $3,500 for PSA 10 for all of that, along with the raw cards that I sold. So that pays for everything. And that next batch, whether those cards have dropped in value or not, are still a profit. And that's something where a lot of people don't realize, is that you want to maximize every dollar that you can. And that's where people like TCA Gaming have excelled tremendously, because they sold items that were sent in plain white envelopes, 20-30 cent profit. But he did that for hundreds of cards a month for 5+ years. That adds up over time, and he's got his money back on it. So I think a lot of people neglect that aspect of the market, and even myself, where I've been critical of making small profit. But for me, making small profit but turning it quickly is more important than long-term investing in the cards for a small profit. To me, that doesn't make sense. I might as well have just bought stock instead. So things like this have gone down. I paid $800 as part of a deal for some non-holo rares. And the centering is an issue, but it should get about a 9, but I'll probably lose some money on this based on the prices. So yeah, sometimes you lose, and other times, like those Japanese holos, you're going to win big. And that's, things to take in consideration when you're buying collections and flipping. So again, how much of the cards are already paid for, and how many are, things that you have already paid and earned. And yeah, sorry, I'm making this video a little quick, and it's final, so my brain is like completely fried. I mean, organic chemistry, if any of you have taken it, fries my brain. So if I misspeak or say something that you don't understand, ask in the comments, and I can probably answer it in a more clear and concise way. But I wanted to make content to try to be consistent with this, so that's why I kind of forced myself to make the video. So hopefully it's not terrible. So I'm hoping to get some 10s on these for the collection. But yeah, that's something to consider with a lot of these things. Like, what strategy do you employ? Like, if you watched my Shining Legends expected value, you know that I recommended, if you're going to go for those, that I would recommend breaking open the premium collection box and seeing if these cards were centered, first of all, before you break it open. And then if they were, break them out, sell the packs and the rest of it, while grading these and either holding them or flipping them for long term. Because this one, I think Lugia sold recently for $1,200 multiple times. So these again are going for regular service. I thought it'd be fun just to have the cards in my collection. It sounds weird to say, but if I have to pay an extra $500 to grade these at a regular service, but I get them back quicker, so I have at least one copy in my collection, I'm kind of happy with that. You get the cards, and it's nice to have them graded. It's nice to get that returns back, and with everything going on in the world, it's nice to have a pick-me-up from PSA with the grading cards. Any little thing that you can do to feel better about stuff going on. This is a little off-center, but it could still get the 10. So yeah, it's about strategizing and finding out what works for you. Do I sell this for $250? I pay $30 for it, grade it for $50, sell it for $250 to $300, and take $100 profit, and try to find it again and flip it. And same thing here, do I pay $20 plus that and make $25-$50? It's still profit, and it's still flipping fast. So that's kind of, thinking about that when you're strategizing with it. And overall, with the market and everything else, I see a lot of prices dropping. And what I foresee happening, or what I think might happen, is that there's going to be a large influx of cards. People are sending off without really understanding that it's the long game. And that's where the people who make the most success are. If you don't have a lot of money, then the people who make the most success are those who are willing to wait the long term. So that says EX pre-release. But yeah. And so that's where I think a lot of people are going to struggle, and they're going to sell them off when they get it. They're going to lose interest because it's not the flavor of the month right now, or when they get the cards back, which is going to be 12 months. And they're going to look at it as a payday to cash out and leave, because obviously there's a boom and then people stay. but I don't foresee that being the case forever. That this ride has to end somehow, and the prices will still be higher than they were at the beginning of the year, but that people are going to exit, and people like me who are going after certain cards in PSA 10 are going to fight and pay more, but most of the cards out there are not that. PSA 10 First Edition Dark Charizard has a population, I think, in the 400s. And that card peaked at 10,000, and several sales since have gone back down to 6,000. It's a very easy set to grade in comparison to the other Wizards of the Coast sets. Skyridge is up there as well. It's a bad art in my opinion. It looks like somebody who's trying to take a selfie at an angle on a dating app, and they just want to show their face. They don't want to show their body. To me, that the Charizard looks kind of goofy in that Skyridge one. So I just don't see a lot of this holding once life gets back to normal, once things get flooded, selling off. People see the cards as life changing, and those who bought these cards at $500 or $1,000 and they're now 50 to 100,000. The people that are going to sell off for life changing money are going to sell off, and it's going to bring out more sales. Previously, I remember when the first edition base and Charizard were going on PWCC auction regularly, you would see a base first edition box, you would see a Charizard, and they would continually sell at the same prices, and they were high for the time, and they were just constantly selling. People saw that as like, this is the peak, it can't get any higher, and obviously they were wrong, and who knows if these prices will be the peak, all-time highs. Nobody knows. But the point is that's life-changing money, and the people that will take it and go, and that's going to draw out a lot of people to sell at these prices, and that's going to flood, and it's going to drop. It's not saying it's going to crash, but when you have supply that's reaching out there and people have already spent tens of thousands of dollars, I don't foresee them, constantly being able to meet that amount of supply. I don't see it happening, especially as prices are already at their peak. Everybody's jumping in already, like the Bitcoin. It's similar. Obviously, I don't think Bitcoin or Pokemon is going to crash like Bitcoin did. I think that the nostalgia is still there, and the prices will hold relatively strong compared to Bitcoin. When everybody jumps in it and everybody's cashing out of the Bitcoin for, fiat money, which is, funny that they believe in that. And I don't think that it's going to crash that hard. But I do think that prices will drop because there's going to be a flood of cards. PSA is expanding to try to meet that demand. And people will be back to their normal life. So I think that prices will stabilize, but that they will be a lot lower, especially for the majority of cards. There will still be some cards that'll hold their value, first edition base Charizard, some of the other low pops, thinking about highly desired cards, Yanma, Typhlosion, Lugia. Those cards are definitely going to be highly sought after still, regardless of the prices, everywhere else. Because there's those collectors that just want to finish PSA 10, and there's only so many copies and so many sets that can be completed in the world. So overall, I don't feel very optimistic about the prices holding. It would have been nice if some of those prices maintained that all-time high, but I highly doubt that it will. So, another topic to discuss is I see a lot of these YouTubers talking about, I call them hype channels. They talk about Pokemon, buy this card now because, these are the cards that the Pokemon community doesn't want you to know about. It sounds like a BuzzFeed article. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. Buy these cards now, they'll go up in value, or you'll be rich. It's you've been in the hobby for how long, and everything's gone up, and suddenly you think because a card is cheap that it's going to go up. And that goes to the difference in underrated versus undervalued. I think it's a discussion that I want to make a video on to really highlight what the differences are, because I think people think because a card is undervalued that it's underrated, or that because a card is underrated that it should go up in price. And those things are going to naturally fix themselves. You can't force it to happen. Skyridge happened because, people were genuinely interested in it. There's so many cards, so many sets, so many things going on with Pokemon that it's hard to really take notice of certain cards. An example I'll give is I really did not like the trophy cards. And I thought some of them were kind of dumb. I do get the rarity aspect of it, but now that I've been collecting and I've seen enough set cards, I really enjoy the trophy cards. I think if I were to have already had my collection goals met, that I would probably be going for some of the trophies. I really like the full art trophies, the not the University Magikarp, but the Fan Club Eevee. Those are snap cards as well. I think as you get more experience with the hobby and you reevaluate it, you look at it again, you're gonna grow, and those things are gonna change, those tastes, or you're gonna see something in a different light now that you're not so focused on one particular goal once you've already met it. So, I think that underrated and undervalued are two terms that are different, and they don't necessarily mean the same thing. You don't see something that's just underrated and that it's undervalued. You could have cards that are great and they're overrated, but they're underpriced still. And well, that actually makes sense. But you have something that is underpriced, but it's highly rated and highly desirable, and those don't necessarily mean that they have to go up in price. You could just have a large volume of cards, or that it's generally appreciated, but that people aren't willing to pay that much money for it. So I think that's something to really consider when you're looking at the cards and following that advice. Just because a card, again, is not very valuable, certain promos, certain Japanese cards, they weren't that desired compared to the other ones. And that doesn't mean that just because it's cheap, it's going to go up later. So I think there's a lot of bad advice being given. I think some people are crossing the line between collecting and trying to be, positive and a collector and great for the community, but they're just giving flat out investment advice, and they're catering to their audience, which again, you don't cater to a person as a trainer with regards to food. Food is, generally not good or bad, but somebody's eating badly, you don't cater to your audience and say, hey, you can lose weight eating Cheetos this way, follow me. Oh, you like that food? Let me tell you that it's good for you. It's the same thing with investing. I like this company, and so, or buy penny stocks because you think it's going to go up. It seems ridiculous to me that you're catering to your audience's desire for investment advice. Investment advice is just simply like, these cards are going to go up because they've always gone up. They've always been popular. They've always been something sought after. But if you're going after your audience and telling them, oh, because you can't afford these cards, here, let me find some cheap cards for you to invest in because they're cheap, rather than going for the option that has always gone up in time. Like, you're going to buy this penny stock because it's cheap. Penny stocks go up 1,000%, and suddenly you turn, a few dollars into thousands of dollars because the people can't afford, multiple stocks in Tesla or Apple. You've lost the boat, myself included. It's hard that you can't buy some of those cards and grade them because they're so expensive, or you can't pick up the card that you want because we've been priced out of the hobby for the most part. So I think catering to your audience and finding cheap stuff to invest in is a bad idea. They should be coming to you for what you see. You're not chasing them to match their investment style. If that makes sense. It's just, I see a lot of bad advice, and that's definitely something that I noticed. And overall, that's why I see the market not staying as high as it once was, just because of that. I see a lot of people, bad advice, lots of cards coming out of the woodwork, large supplies. I think Pokemon, or Jake and Rafi from Poke Economics had an interview, and the guy on there talked about sending 50 mint condition EVs and Pikachus to PSA. And so the same thing, there's how many other people are there like that? How much will that PSA report go up so that those people can take advantage? And at this point, they're of the same mindset that I am, that, those common cards and non-holos, they're left over. We've already made our money on the other cards that were there in the set. So at this point, $10 to pay for a card that might sell for 50 at the lowest, but 250 at the highest, that's a given. That's money waiting to be realized. So I think you're going to see a lot of explosion in the pop and people going back to normal life. And you're going to see people selling and things are going to drop, but they won't crash completely. I don't think Pokemon's going anywhere. I don't think the hobby is. I've seen lots of kids and youth, and I think in the long term that it's going to go up and that prices will still be safe. So, I think that's what I see. The strategy that I'm employing is just simply doing the same thing, and then over here I just have, maybe some mistakes on my part, but I picked up, lots of first edition Wizards of the Coast non-holo cards. So Genesis, lots of non-holo rares, most likely a lot of 9s. Again, paying $10 a card or less and grading them for $10 when they'll probably sell for $35 to $75, maybe more for a few of them that get 10. That's $5, $10, $15, $20 profit. And you look at 100 cards, $10 profit for 100 cards is $1,000. So I'm, okay with small amount of profit. So that's just something that lasts right there. I think that's what, 75 plus, not going to get a 10. That's pretty beat up. So probably an 8. But again, $50, paying $10 a card, 20 plus the grading fee. So, always willing to earn a little bit of extra money. And in the long term, I'm not expecting cards to go up 100, 200%. I'm okay with, 10, 20, 30% profit and repeating this over and over again. So that's kind of my thoughts on the market so far and just overall. I probably went through this slow, so I don't want to drag it out too much longer, but lots and lots of cards going to PSA, more jungle cards. There we go, more Eevee, non-holo rares as well. Hopefully I get some 10s on these, but that's just what I think about with the market and what everybody else is doing. And I do worry about some of the folks that can't afford that to hold on to it for the long term, or who don't have the experience and who paid a lot of money or who paid extra for break services. I think some people do a good job of pricing and others charge 25 to 50% more than the market price for some of these cards. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of the market analysis so far, what you feel the direction of the hobby's going. Do you think there's going to be a large sell-off in, next year when a lot of these cards come back from PSA? So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for listening to this ramble, and I do appreciate all of you guys that watch. So stay tuned. The next video will be a PSA returns. So have a great one.